Now, this is going to be a special episode. Someone asked for me to make a little tutorial of how to play CK2, and well, I kind of learned from just watching YouTube videos, so might as well just go ahead with this and just make a little tutorial to help other people out. Also, if you're watching my series, this may not look like how Francia has been looking. I kind of make them in advance. So there's going to be several different episodes. So the one that just came out is the approaching Aztec invasion. And as you can probably tell, the Aztecs have certainly arrived, and they have certainly done a lot of damage and caused me, personally, a lot of headaches. But beyond that, we're not going to be playing anything. This is a tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how different mechanics work, what all these little tiny buttons more or less do, and or not every single one. Some of them are useless, like the revolt risk screen. You will never have to use this, except if you want to see how bad a country is doing. Like right now, I guarantee this is a part of Carpathia, and that's probably, yep. How did I guess that? How did I guess that? But that is a big reason why they are just not doing too well. Beyond that, though, this will be a little tutorial, just kind of showing the basics of really the main religions in the world. I'll be doing one on the Catholics, which will be this one on the Muslims over here, and another of the tribes. I have never really played these guys over here, the Hindus and the Buddhists. I do know that the Buddhists have like weird, funky mechanics on war. I think I've played a Hindu before, but it wasn't like too hardcore. So I don't really know much about them either. But I do know a lot about the Catholics, and basically all the Christians except for the Orthodox. But I'm assuming if the Miaphysites and the Franks are the same, I would hope the Orthodox are the same as well. Just hoping. But beyond that, the basics for any Catholic game is to immediately, and I do immediately, become crowned as the Pope. If you do not crown yourself as the Pope, you might as well just restart the game. Currently, this Emperor is also crowned by the Pope, and you need to be crowned by the Pope, or else you will have immense vassal issues. I'm still having vassal issues, and I have been crowned. That's probably just because I'm having a lot of levies raised, but who really cares about that? But getting the support of the Pope will allow you, especially if you have a lot of vassals, to more or less maintain them and make sure that they do not try and depose you too fast. That is the one very good thing about Catholics. As long as you can get crowned by the Pope, you are safe from any vassal problems for the most part. I'll say the most part because I'm currently having vassal issues. So they will definitely still happen, but you can definitely reduce the chance of them happening. Beyond that, the next major issue that you will be facing as a Catholic nation at the beginning of the game is something that Wessex and many of these other smaller guys over here are probably also facing. Actually, no, not them. Is anyone still facing it? Give me half a moment while I find someone who is actually. Here we go. Agnatic, cognatic, gavelkind. Gavelkind is a huge issue for any nation. Gavelkind will basically split up whatever the main title is. For this, it is a duchy, the Duchy of Gwynedd. So if this guy ever, and I do mean ever, obtains a second duchy, which I'm just now realizing this guy's Jewish, that is interesting. But beyond that, if this guy ever receives a second duchy and he has two male children, it will then split the realm in half between those children. And this will still happen even if he doesn't have another duchy title. It all depends if his duchy is large enough. For instance, he has the majority of this southern or duchy over here called Gwir. So, in the case of something big ever happening, like him having two children, it will actually split both Gwynedd and Gwir between two different people as long as Gwir does not exist. It's a very weird mechanic, but I have seen it happen where I'm just this huge sprawling kingdom, and then it'll just split me into little parts, even if I don't have those kingdoms. It is a very scary thing, and it happens to the tribes very often as well. And that is the main reason why I play personally with agnatic seniority. Because even though it will give you a lot of old guys on the throne and make you very prone to assassination and death by old age, it will allow me to more or less not have my realm split into a million different pieces, which will help very much later on. Because as long as your realm does not split into a million pieces, you can always make a comeback. Of course, that's hopefully speaking. Hopefully, you can make a comeback. Beyond that, though, we have laws, which are very, very complicated and whatnot. But basically, you just need to have all of your little vassals in agreement, more or less, or at least for the inheritance laws, you need to have all your vassals in agreement, and then you can just pass different laws. Realm ones, it's simpler, I guess. You can just pass them on your own. Same with the obligation laws. Council laws, as you see right now, I am currently in charge of all of these. All of these. And that is something that I'll get onto later in the tribe tutorial. But basically, these would hamper my ability to make decisions, including laws. Now, most Catholic nations do not have to worry about this. You can just simply make whatever laws you want as long as you've reigned for a long enough period. I don't generally focus on them, but I will do one thing. I will always get revoked title up to religious. It is the most important thing to get. And also administrative to late will also help a lot because it will allow you to get primogeniture succession laws, which will allow you to get your inheritance laws just a little bit better and make it more stable. But that also comes down with its own side effects, which is why I just generally go with seniority. But it is always nice to have administration late. So these are basically the two that I'll always go for no matter what. I won't really focus on the rest of these. I might get status of women up to full, but that takes a very long time and can cause a few issues in the realm as well. But beyond that, I'll get into council laws later on with the tribes, because that's a big issue for them. The next one is technology. Now, technology is something that I don't generally focus on too much. As long as you are constantly spying on the Byzantines, which I'll get on later, you will almost always be able to spend your technology points at a either rapid pace or a very stable pace with the rest of the world. Technology will also grow as long as you have a high enough title. So an empire rank will spread your technology much faster than a kingdom, such as, let's see here, Bavaria. Bavaria is a nice one, even though it's still a tribe. Which I don't think technology spreads slower in tribes. I doubt it does for some reason. Next one's military. Now, military is basically just telling you how much your strength is, your vassal levies, yada yada yada, your fleets. Retinues, on the other hand, are a little bit more interesting. Retinues will are your personal armies. They are not really tied to the land, and you will always have them as long as they're not completely destroyed. At the moment, I have a bit. I have like 3,000 ish troops. that I have at my disposal, which will help me in any war, especially if you pick certain ones like heavy cavalry. Heavy cavalry is the strongest unit in the game for the most part, and even though it does have slight drawbacks, the drawbacks are not big enough to actually hurt your overall gameplay. So basically always go with the heavy cavalry retinue, in my opinion, but that's getting into more advanced stuff that I don't really like talking about, and it's a whole lot of math. So we're just going to just say heavy cavalry is the best, and let's get on to the next one. Now, this one is very complex, but basically this will allow you to do kind of all these different missions for the most part. Restore the papacy in Rome, donate to charity, let's see here, compose a book. All these are different little things that will are basically quality of life things. Allow you to invite different people to your court, although I would never do that myself. Uh, and then take different decisions like create a new empire and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. It's interesting. It makes the game just a slight bit funner, and it allows you to get different artifacts, which I will talk about later. There's a lot of things to talk about in this game. Too many things. Now, you might notice the my plots, known plots, prisoners, and threats. Basically, I have no idea what the threat thing does. I'll be honest. Oh wait, no. Threat is the is it factions? I think it's factions. Yeah, it's just factions. No one cares about factions. You can always just look at it in the next tab. But basically, my plots is assassinations. So if I wanted to, by chance, eliminate the Queen of Thuringia, I would simply go down here, click on that button, click do it, and click that button to auto invite plotters. And then basically anyone that has a green check mark will automatically join, and anyone that has a little yellow one just needs a little persuading, so I would just give them some cash. Beyond that, that is really all that is. It's just eliminating people. I would use it to like get rid of little faction heads, but I found that that is not too useful. I would rather just imprison them, which I'll get to later. But it is a nice little quality of life thing to be able to eliminate people. To be honest, I would rather just eliminate the heads of different states because it will cause issues with their succession. And succession, well, there will always be issues with succession. And if you can screw up someone else's succession, you are in a very good position. Factions. Factions are the worst part of CK2, by far. These are all the people within your realm, and these people are also growing in size just as you are, which also means that they will be basically just as powerful as you if they all combine together, or even more powerful. It totally depends. And that is probably the scariest part of the game, that you could always be overthrown at a moment's glance if you make them if you make enough of them angry. Right now I have made quite a few angry, and this will basically see how strong certain factions are in fact getting and what they're trying to accomplish. This is council power. This, for instance, is putting this guy on a throne. That is gavel kind, independence, which is self-explanatory, and a couple others. Just basic little things. Religion. Basically, all we need to do here is make sure that the or the holy sites are secure and making sure that's at 100%. That's really it. Societies. Now, for different religions and cultures, you'll have different things to do. For right now, I'm in the Benedictine order, which is a order that can only be accessed by Catholics. But if I looked up known societies, there's the Dominican, which is also for Catholics, the Hermetic, which is for all religions, Lucifer's Own, all religions, and then we get these two, the Wolf Warriors and the Band of Medina. Now, what is this a part of? This is just for people of the Romuva religion. Then this is for people of Germanic. So basically, these will allow people of different religions to also join their own societies and fight aggressive warlords from other states, such as Francia. Now, of course, that is very complex, and basic that is the basic thing for almost any religion, right there. But the Catholics have their own spin on things. For instance, the factions will get angry if you're not crowned by the Pope, like I stated earlier. Technology, you will be probably below on tech compared to most of the world if you start as a Catholic, just because of where you are in the world. And military, every single one of these guys will have different general troops to go with your army levies. If you're playing as a Catholic, you will generally have light infantry and probably some heavy infantry mixed in. But if you're playing as like the Abbasids, you might have some more skirmishing troops like cavalry and others like that. And if you play as the Byzantines, you'll probably have heavy infantry. So really, it's all based off of where you are in the world and what your circumstances are. But Catholics definitely take the shorthand with light infantry. Now, if you are playing within this main region right here, like I am right now, you'll have a few issues to worry about in the early game. One, the Umayyads. If you allow the Umayyads to get too much power, you will almost certainly lose certain amounts of territory down here. Now, I've never seen that happen too often, but it does happen. And then, of course, the Aztec invasion. The Aztec invasion will always come in no matter what you do, and it's just the worst thing that's ever been added to this game, really. For instance, they took Italy from me. I don't like that, but I can't do anything about it until now, which is why that's at 74%. And really, as a Catholic power, there isn't much else to do besides getting crowned by the Pope and making sure your vassals like you, and of course, expanding. Generally, Catholics do not have to do all that much to stay in power and generally progress in the game, which is why I'm also taking this as a time to go through all of the little tidbits in these little tabs. Now, some of these other ones will be more difficult to explain, but it shouldn't be too hard, I guess, hopefully. I will say one other thing though. If you want to get anything done in your character's personal life, like a divorce, you always go to the Pope. The Pope is literally the key to understanding how your characters will play and how they will react. If the Pope does not allow something, you will not be doing it. I can guarantee that. And then the Pope can also excommunicate you, which will make everyone in the Catholic world hate you. That is also an issue. I hate that one too. That one's my personal hatred. The Aztecs don't even come close to that one. The next one, to be honest, I will say one thing. I'm not even going to talk about the anti-popes. I have never used anti-popes. I know it's a thing in the game, but I just don't use it. So I can't really talk about it. I'll be honest on that one. But the next main thing, and really the last main thing that Catholics at least have to worry about, this doesn't really apply to Orthodox or Miaphysites. I guess the Miaphysites are down. Yeah, the Miaphysites are down for the count. But generally, only the Catholics have to worry about this. But holy wars or crusades. Now, generally, crusades, or at least the beginning ones, will happen in Egypt, Jerusalem, or Syria. If you want a long-lasting crusader state in your game, you will force the Pope to go after Egypt. Egypt is the only one of these regions that will actually remain independent. I have tried to save Jerusalem, and it will not work. And I'm telling you, it will not work. Always save Egypt. Egypt has just it's just overpowered. Egypt can easily withstand a couple holy wars and still be able to pump out like 10,000 troops. And that's on a good day. Or no, that's a bad day actually. That's a real bad day. So I would always force the Pope to take Egypt first. And also, if you want the most war score within a crusade, just siege provinces down or counties down. It's the easiest way to gain easy war score without having all your troops just evaporate in one battle. It's real easy, and generally the armies won't come after you. I don't know why, but they just don't. And it's real easy to just go around and make fun of them. And really, those are the main things that happen in the Catholics. One, getting crowned by the Pope. Very important. You must do Gavelkind. If you do not, and I mean, if you do not get out of Gavelkind, you will never be able to expand ever. Like right now, if I had Gavelkind right now, my empire would probably split into Francia, Germania, and Italia, just because of how far I've expanded. And that would, or it would have split if the Aztecs didn't take Italy. 3, if you want anything done, ask the Pope. The Pope will do it for you, and he is a very, very nice man. 4, factions. Get crowned by the Pope 1. 2, if that doesn't work, just start imprisoning them. It's the easiest thing to do. Just toss them in jail, and they will probably not last for too long. I mean, they might. 4, Crusades. Always make the Pope take Egypt first. I don't know how to say that. Just take Egypt first. And if he is trying to take Jerusalem, I will say you should help them, because there is a chance that Jerusalem gets saved. It's not a high chance, but they might. And also, you want, and I'm telling you, you want the most war score in a crusade. It gives you so much cash and so much prestige and so much piety that it is worth it. 5, and I didn't really talk about it, but I will say one thing. The more piety you have, the more the Pope likes you, and the less chance you'll be excommunicated, which is part 6. Don't get excommunicated by the Pope. Easy as that. Don't get excommunicated. But if you have to get excommunicated, like taking Rome, for instance, just leave the Pope alone for a very long time, and eventually he'll stop excommunicating you. Like right now, this character is not excommunicated because the Pope doesn't care anymore. And really, that's it for Catholics and most Christians, really. For most Christians, you don't have to worry about an really antagonistic Pope. But I will say, I know the Orthodox have this guy named the Patriarch, and he doesn't sound very nice either. I'll just say it. He's a pretty mean man. But I don't think he's anywhere near as mean as the Pope. The Pope is like a rabid dog. Beyond that, though, that's really the main points. I don't know how many there are. I think there's 6. But that's the main points for a Catholic. If you follow by those and you kind of more or less follow around those, you'll be able to more or less remain strong. Now, if you want to, I'm going to talk more in depth about wars with my Muslim stuff because it's kind of easier to conquer the Abbasids than a Catholic. So I'll kind of talk more about wars in the next one. But this is really it for the Catholics. The Catholics have basically a good idea of how to play the game, and they're not so overpowered that you will have a hard or an easy time, but they're not so difficult that you'll just get rolled over. They're a nice in between that I do recommend